Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big, big, big Monday. It's a hump day. Cody, what did you just say before we came on air? You dumped it on me right after I just got back from working out and being in the sauna?
I, I was trying. We usually talk about some show topics before we go live, and within the last half an hour, there was a commitment. I've been kind of delved into different things. I've been working on fantasy football dynasty rankings, UFL research, college NIL stuff, and Tristan Keys, the number 2 overall ranked wide receiver in the 2026 class, indeed committed to LSU after this past visit this past weekend. Keys is from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He committed to LSU within the last hour. So that was the commitment. It wasn't the Texas commitment. So I saw that ticker going down. It goes 3-2. And I go, I don't want to say Texas commitment. I just wanted to say commitment. So,
okay. All right. So Tristan Keys that wasn't the one that was committed to A&M, was it?
No, that's Aaron Gregory. And there was a note that came up from Sam Spiegelman today from Rivals that said that Texas and LSU were among teams pushing for Aaron Gregory. Of course, he's the wide receiver. He's a top 10 ranked wide receiver in the nation right now. According to Rivals at Texas A&M, A&M's lost 2 recruits over the course of the last 10 days, all out-of-state guys, and Gregory is their highest ranked receiver on the roster right now.
Well, hopefully Texas can go snipe him. Maybe they'll use some NIL money to do it, Cody. And you were talking, so you have thoughts after your NIL column today. What are your big takeaways?
So I have some thoughts on it, and I think we're getting to a head, right? We're about 2.5 weeks away from the big hearing that I totally, honestly, to tell you right now, I've read a lot of NIL stuff, and I totally don't really understand what's going to come to fruition, so don't ask me about that. I think I got a guy that I want to try and get on the show and talk a little bit deeper into some of these things, and maybe I'll try to do that for the week of the hearing, which I think is the first week of April. I'll see if I can get that guy lined up. But as far as the column I have over on Orange Blitz, it's one of the newer columns that's up for recruiting purposes. We fleshed out an entirely new schedule for recruiting stuff, and that was up on Catch's top 10 thoughts from the weekend. He released that schedule, and one of them is this NIL Nuggets of the Week thread. And in it, there's a bevy of nuggets, so I'd like to just pop a couple of them into your mind and just kind of see where that takes you. One column, Alex, that I read was from Ross Dellinger, came out on Friday, and it was about LSU. And it was titled, "It's a Money Game Now," and how LSU is using NIL to keep up in the ever-evolving college football world. Some of the interesting nuggets inside of here. When talking about the LSU situation, it's a little long 2-part thing here. In December, they had 2 weeks. They needed to raise at least half of their springtime NIL goal, which was $13 million. They did. It was a lofty expectation, but they fulfilled it. They spent roughly $12 million on its football roster over the last 3 seasons. They spent $5.5 million this last year on their roster, which again, we're talking about this in comparison to what's believed to be 20 plus million for both Texas and Ohio State's rosters individually. LSU spent $5.5 million last year.
You got to be kidding me.
$4 million in 2023.
I'm looking at this article here. Yeah.
And $2 million in 2022. The collective is now believed to be an Ole Miss, for reference, was $13 million just this last season. Their new kind of forward-thinking thought here is they're going to, in LSU terms, they said front load roughly $10 million of it before July 1st for members of the 2025 roster. Now, if you remember right, and you go back to the portal this winter window in the transfer portal, LSU was heavy hitters in the transfer portal this spring. And they got Mansour Delane, a cornerback from Virginia Tech.
Nick Anderson.
What's that?
Didn't they get Nick Anderson?
Yeah, they got Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech, a great DB. They got edge rusher Jack Pyburn from Florida, both he's in the SEC. They got Barry Brown from Kentucky, Nick Anderson, who you just mentioned, from Oklahoma. They brought in Michael Van Buren, former 4-star quarterback from Mississippi State, a guy that was with Lebby at Mississippi State, and he was viewed as a rising quarterback until he went to Mississippi State, and now he gets to go to LSU and sit there behind Nussmeier for a year. Patrick Payton, an edge rusher from Florida State. They got Bauer Sharp from Oklahoma, actually a really good tight end that just didn't quite hit. offensive linemen from Virginia Tech, a couple other receivers and DBs. Like they went out heavy in the transfer portal. They had 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 guys in the top 150, 8 guys in the top 70 in the transfer portal this last window. So they really made a push. I believe LSU's a sleeper right now in the 2025 season, but from an NIL perspective, they've completely shifted their monetary focus. And I don't know if that's obviously it's going to be driven based off this rev share thing, but you have to also remember like Angel Reese, Livy Dunn. These are two, gymnastics. Livy Dunn's gymnastics, Angel Reese's basketball, two high dollar NIL players in the LSU conversation that are out the window now at LSU. So that opens up some more dollars, of course, but I just thought that was interesting to see what they put out there. 5.5 million this last season, a quarter of what Ohio State and Texas spent, at least a quarter.
It makes you wonder how they did it. Like it's wild that you can spend that much less and still be relatively competitive. It goes to show that, I mean, the saying's money can't buy everything. And I think that's probably true for NIL and football and all this stuff too. I wonder so how was it that they didn't, because what I'm reading here, so they raised funds to support a $13 million NIL goal, 10 million front loaded for the 2025 roster, but they've historically lagged in NIL spending. So 12 million over 3 years, as you mentioned, versus Ole Miss, 13 million in 1 year.
That was just last year's roster. Yes, you remember Ole Miss went heavy into the portal last year.
But out of that, they got a top 16 ranked, or a top. They got a 16-man transfer portal class, a top 10 high school recruiting class. They retained
Harold
Perkins.
Lost Underwood, the quarterback.
Well, what are you going to do whenever Dave Portnoy comes in and offers him $10 million or whatever that was, right?
That's the thing. Look at this number though. Like it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense that LSU would kind of be not undercut, but overtaken when that kid's getting, I don't remember what the number was exactly. Was it 10 or 11 or 12? Basically what LSU spent overall the last 3 seasons on the football team is what Underwood's getting in one deal.
So, but is this basically saying that LSU moving forward, they plan to allocate $13.5 million per year of the $20.5 million revenue share to football? And what
At
they're
least.
doing, what Kelly's saying, at least in this article, and we should probably give this is a Yahoo article. Is this Ross Dellinger?
Yeah, I said that at the top.
Okay, sorry. So do you know exactly what it means as far as if this is a strategic shift from moving from a philosophy of not buying players, as Brian Kelly said in, I guess, May of 2024, to aggressive NIL mobilization? They want to stay as competitive in revenue sharing, but so I guess his line of thinking is that having success in NIL, of course, is going to be vital to not getting left behind or whatever. But is it going to be that? Is every team going to have 13? I just guess I don't get it. Is every team going to have like a salary cap of 13.5 after the house settlement?
Well, remember the house settlement, the revenue sharing thing is like a 20. I always forget the number. It's 20.5 or 21.5. I think it's 20.5 is the pool, right? But every school is going to be different in how they line it out, unless a conference makes it mandated, which I don't think they will, because and the schools I always go to and point to are, the Kentuckys of the world, the North Carolinas of the world, the Dukes, all these schools that have basketball presences, women's basketball presences, where they're like, well, the main thought is, like some of these like other teams are going to be like, maybe they get $1 million or $1.5 million, or the basketball team's going to get, 3 or 5. It's like the basketball heavy schools, or like the women's basketball schools, for example, I think are going to get much like a heavier dosage. Like, what about this? Connecticut still has a football team, right? Or did they close that thing up a couple years ago?
I don't know.
I think they They dropped it and then they reestablished it, right? Yeah, they still have a team. So, like, think about Connecticut, right? Connecticut is an FBS team in, I don't even know what the hell conference they're in anymore, but they used to be in the Big East, right? With like West Virginia and Pitt. And now they're kind of just like they're a football team, but they got a horse of a men's basketball team and a horse of a women's basketball team. What's that going to look like from an NIL rev share perspective, right? That should, in theory, I don't think Connecticut's going to become like this football, conversation point. I think it's going to be like, well, why wouldn't we just dump the money into places we know we can succeed, which is give each of the basketball teams, 6 or 7 million, and then give the football team like 6 million, and just be mid at football and then just go gangbusters in basketball and be like the top dog in basketball, right?
Right. And so it looks like it's going to be starting July 2025, and this is of course pending final approval with the House settlement. So the cap's estimated to be at 20 to 20 million per school.
20 to 20?
20 to 22, I'm sorry.
You're good.
But there is a projected growth. So the cap can grow by approximately 4% each year. So
that's
which I think is capped at a 10, which I think is capped at over the 10-year settlement term. So I think after the 10 years, it can't grow anymore, I guess. But
really,
I don't know. But they're saying by the end of the term, 2034 and 35, estimates suggest it'll be up to 32 to 33 million per school annually.
I did read that.
So yeah, so that's like, so what LSU's planning on doing is allocating 13.5 of a $20.5 million pool. Now, but here's the thing, schools are going to have to go above and beyond that, right?
Well, that's where the NIL comes in.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's like, so we aren't even talking about NIL right now.
No, this is straight rev share, which, is once you, that, I mean, I think that's going to be where stuff kind of comes into the conversation with employment, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But I was asked a question, and I got some other notes on here I want to get to, but I was asked a question in the column over on orangebloods.com. You can go read the whole thread over there. But the question was, let me get through here before it was half question, and I wanted to get through the rest of it. But it was basically, once the lawsuit is finally settled and the collectives go away and NIL be administered, once the collectives go away and NIL be administrated by the schools, or are we looking at a fusion depending upon what or how individual schools want to proceed? Basically saying, like, once the lawsuits are gone, however long that is, whether it's, next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, will the collectives go away and will NIL go away, and will it just be rev share?
No.
And I basically said, there's like so much gray area right now that we really can't know what is like projected to come even to the end of the summer. And I think in the end, it ends up being employment, and it's all the money, which is rev share plus NIL. And I think NIL is what is the differentiator, right? So everyone's going to have this, like you just said, it's going to be 22 million, and it's going to go up by roughly, 800,000 a year. And by the 10 years, you're going to get to 32 million, but you're still going to have teams that can have collectives. Like, you're going to have your Texas, you're going to have your A&M, you're going to have your Ohio State, you're going to have your Oregon, these schools that will consistently be able to pull in at least 10 to 12 million dollars a year, at least, right?
They'll probably pull in 20.
Well, I get that, right? But what I'm saying 10 to 12 is because I'm thinking, think about the next 10 years, think every single year for the next 10 years. If you were to set like a pace, like if you were to tell your collective today, like, hey guys, we need to have a 10 to 12 million dollar, NIL collective income here, where as like, and I'm only bringing this up in a phase back thought here, because I remember listening to like Catch, and he's like, they all, like, the bills have always been paid at Texas, but there is always a stage where you get to like player retention, and you're like, all right, well, we got this much money, we just got to make sure we can get through with this much money. maybe we need to get more. We need to go fundraise for another million, another 2 million, number 3 million. And then that's when that number grows to, hey, we need 20 million. Why I say 10 to 12 is because like that's where like I would say like an average thought, right? Like the top of the line schools will always have 10 to 12 million dollars, and they may even press it up to, 15 to 20. So, and then there'll always be the schools like even in LSU, which we didn't even know. I did. If you would have told me a week ago that LSU spent 5 million last year and then 4 and 2 million the previous years, I would have said, well, that's wrong. I doubt that. But I also don't think of LSU as like
Because you would have think in the SEC they wouldn't have been able to field a competitive roster.
bingo. And so I would have been like, well, I don't think LSU was like this dominant money.
No, but they should have. They should. Right. I mean,
So when you think of that 10-year thing that I just said with you have your rev share plus you have your NIL collective where I said like a Texas, an A&M, an Oregon, Ohio State that have this like consistent 10 to 12 million that they can count on, right? So you get your 22 million and you got your 10 million, you got 32 million. LSU on a year-to-year basis, we can now probably project that their NIL collective is going to bring in 5 million. So that's going to be your differentiator, right? That's going to be your, all right, Texas and A&M and Ohio State have this bonus 10 to 12 million in NIL, which goes on top of their rev share, and the LSUs of the world will be here. And then you're probably thinking like your Mississippi States are like, maybe they're raising a couple $1,000,000 a year, right? And like, that's where that floor is built. And that's where the tiers are made within this whole conversation. But I think you're still going to have, I think it becomes a soft cap, kind of like how baseball. I don't really get the luxury cap thing, but a soft cap, and I would say that because like the NFL is a hard cap of whatever it's 258 and a couple thousand, $100,000, whatever.
It's just now. So at the end of February, I think it's 279.2.
So it went up again.
It got a big bump.
And so that's a hard cap. The teams can't play over that cap. But like in baseball, you can have a soft cap, and it's basically luxury and cash, which is pseudo what this is in the NIL plus rev share conversation. So say you have a pseudo soft cap of like 40 million, right? So you kind of getting this baseball piece in here. I also think with what it creates is it's going to have to create a super league, which we've heard rumored the last year, in that you're going to see the separation of the Big Ten and the SEC curating this 40 team or 36 team league that just pulls itself apart. And to me, it's going to be the super league. And then you're going to have like the rest of the P4s. And then you're going to have like the G5s be together. The P4s and the G5s be together that are not the tier 1 super league team. And somehow mirror that European soccer kind of where you can rise through the ranks, jump into that big league.
Relegation.
Relegation. That's the word I was looking for. But you can either get relegated down to that, I don't know whatever they're going to call it, normal league, normal college football, or you can get, accepted into the Super League. That's kind of how I see it unfolding in 5 years. Maybe that's cockamamie, but I'll be honest with you, Alex, I don't think it is.
You would have said this is cockamamie 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago, you would have said, "What in the galaxy brain are you even? What is going on?" And
I kind of already think that.
That what?
I kind of just feel like we're talking. I feel like we're taking crazy pills as we're talking about it.
Of course we are, but it's like every day it's something different. Like, and I'll just weave this right into this. In that yesterday we literally were on the show talking about what Deion Sanders said. Deion Sanders, obviously from Colorado, he says, I'll do a practice with Syracuse. I'll do a spring, I'll do these joint practices.
All right. Well, let's talk about Deion. But before we get off the NIL and the salary cap stuff, like, because we talked about the NIL and we talked about the NFL, and you mentioned it. Brian Kelly mentioned it in that article. Talked about how there's such a huge difference between whatever the NFL salary cap was and whatever his salary cap is or whatever. And like, whatever, I think he makes some good points in the article as far as that, man. Cry me a river. It's like until 5 minutes ago, none of this was even, these resources weren't even available to you. You need to figure out how to win and how to adapt. But if we say the NFL, let's just say 280 million. Okay. We say for college football, I don't understand. Like, once the revenue share kicks in, Texas gets 20 to 22 million for rev share. They have good basketball. They have baseball, all the rest of it. They need to allocate stuff to women's basketball. It's an awesome team, all the rest. I'd imagine it'll probably be something like LSU where they give probably 13 million to football. You think that's about right? Just out of the rev share? If they
Um,
if they were to make it commiserate with the amount of money that the sport brings into the school, if they want to make it truly equitable in that way,
I mean
it
that
would
would
it would be probably 19 out of 22 mil
they
that the
won't be
football
able
team
they won't be able to do that because everybody has to get at least everybody has to at least get a crumb. All of the 16 sports.
got it. But you see but I'm saying
Yeah.
if things were truly fair in that
Yeah.
way, it would be like that. But probably just broad strokes. Let's say they get 13 million out of this. All right, 13 million in year one. Now, the NIL collective last year, didn't we always hear, and I don't know the exact number that Texas spent, but didn't we always hear that's a $20 million roster that Ohio State's got, and Texas spent something close to that on their roster,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So are we to think that Texas could possibly be in year one able to spend 20 million plus 13 million, 33 million? Let's just say 30. Okay, let's say 230. All right. Or let's say 30. If that's the case, Texas would be making it would have it would have a salary cap of basically 1/9 of what the NFL salary cap is, right? What's the biggest quarterback contract out there right now? Is it 65 per year? 70?
What do you wait? You're talking
The
about
biggest
NFL?
NFL contract.
Oh, NFL quarterback is
Here, I'll just
I was
what
gonna
is
say, was it did Josh Allen just got an adjustment? I think that popped him to the top. Average per year. It's Dak was 60 per year.
so it is all right. I knew that Dak was at 60. I figured that something was higher than him.
I thought Josh got his adjustment last week. I didn't remember what it was, but it's only 55. It's like five
God,
dudes at
Dak signed a
55.
4-year, so that was a 4-year, 240 million extension.
How stupid.
How much was Jordan Love's?
So Love was 55 per year. Lawrence is
Okay.
55. Allen's 55, and Burrow's 55.
All right. So let's just say if schools go the way of if do you think schools are ever going to say like if they're going the way of the NFL, that would mean that your star quarterback, the one that you got to pay all this money, all the rest of it, if it was going to be an amount commensurate with the percentage of the salary cap that NFL teams spend on this position, your starting quarterback, if he's a stud, should be making about $5 million a year.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
55 divided by 278. That's 19%, 19.7%.
So if it's 19.7%,
That's
that would
actually
be more like $6 million a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's actually like nearly 6 out of 30. That's 20%.
Do you foresee that happening? I think schools are going to have to have like.
Where do you think we are today? What I mean, that's literally what Arch's NIL valuation is right now.
And I think that didn't they say that they gave him a tier $3 million to come to Oklahoma?
Correct.
The markets, man. The markets are so efficient. They just create they just create themselves. It's so crazy, man. It's like it's amazing. The best market is a meat market that I know of called Texas Beef Traders. You guys ever heard of it? Have you been to Texas Beef Traders? Look, we talk about it every day. I'm not here to beat your beat it over your head. But what I want is the best for you, and I want you to eat delicious steaks and delicious ground beef and just delicious beef products, and that's what you get at Texas Beef Traders. And there's no vaccines, no antibiotics, no cockamamie shots, steroids, nothing like that. Non-GMO feed, bovine nutritionists on staff, processing facilities there on staff. The meat comes into Texas Beef Traders every Wednesday from 3 different farms with 3 totally awesome different herds of cattle, all from less than 100 miles away from the store right there in the heart of Lakeway. Right off of Loman's Crossing, easy as can be to get to. Darren is the owner. He's one of the coolest dudes I know. He's a great friend. And I wouldn't care so much about Texas beef traders if one, Darren wasn't so great, if for two, these farms weren't so spectacular and awesome, and for three, to be completely honest, if the food wasn't this good, right? I like to eat Texas beef traders. I want to eat Texas beef traders. I want them to have success because I want them to stay there because I need them to stay in my neighborhood because my family loves their food. You can get it for 10% off whenever you go in there. You can call Darren, go to Texas Beef Traders, go to texasbeeftraders.com, call up Darren, make an order. If you live in the Austin area, he'll just bring it to your house. And it doesn't have to be a big order. You can order some ribeye steaks and some ground beef or something like that. He'll take it to you on his way home one night. All right. Texas Beef Traders, texasbeeftraders.com. Make sure and check them out, and make sure and check out our beef jerky. It's right here. 3 of our 4 signature blends that Cody and I have worked on and have just ground our fingers to a nub, trying to create these spices for and everything like that. They're all available right now. I would recommend the hot honey flavor is my favorite beef jerky, but they're all very delicious. Texas Beef Traders, texasbeeftraders.com. All right, Cody. Anything else on the NIL thing, or do you want to transition to this Dion stuff that you wanted to talk about?
We got a little more NIL because there's been some coaching change in basketball, men's basketball, and we're not going to talk men's basketball, but I'm only going to bring it up.
This would be the one day that we maybe could. I'm kind of interested to hear who you have going in your bracket to the Final Four.
Let's save that for the end, just
right.
for like that sake. Let's get through all the NIL and the football stuff, and then let's talk about brackets at the end because that's
because we don't like basketball really,
nor do we know
anything about it,
hide nor hair about it. All right, so basketball, right? And NIL. We just talked about the 20 million, 20.5 million projected rev share, the 10 to 12 that you could potentially get, for these top schools from a collective standpoint, and the disbursement by team. And there was a couple of posts I put up in there from Pete Nakos from On3, and On3 was reporting this yesterday about specific jobs in basketball. John Calipari, of course, the legendary Kentucky coach, goes to Arkansas. And when he left Kentucky for Arkansas, he secured major NIL funding. No numbers were released at the time of this. I guess I could go do some research, but I should probably have done that. I don't dig deep into basketball for reasons, obvious reasons. Now, West Virginia's coach, Darian DeVries, was in the mix for the Indiana job. He got the Indiana job. He was in the mix for the Indiana job, and NIL budgets will factor in. In quote from a different coach told Nakos, it's flipped on its head in terms of what the prioritization is with jobs. This is another quote. Indiana spent over $5 million on this year's basketball roster. Mind you, Indiana finished 9th in the Big Ten with a 19-13 record. They spent $5 million on this year's roster, while West Virginia, where DeVries is from, spent $3 million. For example, Iowa opened and the best players were making $300,000. That's the bottom of the Big Ten in spending. And
these guys are just, God, they are balling on campus right now. Can you imagine going to college right now and seeing these dudes floss around? You must feel like such a geek, man, just being a regular student and seeing all these guys being so rich.
And you know what the worst part is?
In college, dude.
The worst part is that those dudes, I'll just be honest, everybody knows this, but those dudes are the ones that generally kind of half-ass going to class. They'll show up to class and they're like, da-da-da-da-da. Like I went to school in North Dakota and it was like, that was the hockey school. They just came off a national championship and those guys would get their work in, but they just kind of screwed off. And all those geeks, everyone else is grinding their balls off to kind of get the work done and stuff. And these guys are just like, yeah, man, I'll get a C- and I'm going to the league next week, so it doesn't really matter. It's like
I can't say I was making good grades, but dude, I was having to work. I was having to work.
Yeah,
pay for my apartment and all. It's like.
And think about some of these guys. They're like, listen, man, I'm going to school for 2.5 years. And my plan is to declare for the draft. That's what think about it. And if you're on the Texas roster, there's 16 dudes right now that are like 16, 17 dudes that might end up on a roster. It's a good chunk of the roster that's just kind of like, I know I'm going to maybe end up in the league.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wild thought, but I mean, yeah, your point.
Even if they don't, you can still make life-changing money.
Yeah, I don't know what Silas Bolden made, but even think about Silas Bolden. He'll probably make a roster for like special teams and his speed and stuff. He
Yeah,
probably
and
will.
even if you made like even if you made like 500K, imagine starting out your life with a 500K nest egg to where you could go out and put a down payment on some great house to where your mortgage payments were going to be super low, for the rest of your life. It's just like what a monumental head start you have on just all of your finances. It's crazy.
What do you think? It's a good thing we brought up here. What do you think? Because we know that Golden, according to Anwar's reporting, Golden got a $200,000 deal. I don't remember if the bond number came up, but what do you think Bolden got if Golden got 200,000?
Then Bond, then he didn't get
You
500K.
think, but I think Bolden probably got more than Golden. You think?
Mm,
Maybe.
No, because Golden was their first, like that was the first. For one, Golden was like third on his team, you know, even the year after Tank Dell left, right? Wasn't he third in receiving
Yeah,
yards?
'cause Sam Brown was there. Sam Brown went to Miami.
Right. And so Texas just recognized him as a guy that's like, man, that guy had a great game versus us, and we really love him as a kick returner.
Yes, they got a
Um,
value on him. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but they really wanted him. They went out and got him quick, and it was a super. I think that they got a good deal on him, right? I'm not sure that he's one of these. He didn't have like a Zechariah Branch type of market, if that makes sense, an Eric Singleton type of market, or an Isaiah Bond type of market. Bond
No,
certainly got more.
but no, I know. But what do you think Bolden got in comparison? Because Bolden was a guy that actually was a dynamo at Oregon State.
Yeah, but Bolden, that was later in the process, and to me, that just felt like he kind of got added on, and he was sort of a throw in that they didn't. It felt like almost like a luxury pick. It doesn't feel I maybe he got as much as Golden, but I don't think he would have gotten more than Matthew Golden. I know that looking back right now, it seems like revisionist history to say like, well, Matthew Golden's probably going top 15 in the draft and stuff. Of course, he got more, but that wasn't the way I would have said you're taking crazy pills. If you'd have showed me this clip back in fall camp with me saying this about Matthew Golden. I say, Matthew Golden, possible top 15 pick. You're crazy.
Mhm.
That isn't happening. I might have said that halfway through the season before he went on his late season tear and just he put all of his best, he put most of his best stuff, most of his, in on tape in the biggest games, and then he runs the 4.29 and, just all bets are absolutely off. Um, but yeah, none of that was baked into his NIL evaluation at the time. So yeah, that the reporting from Anwar was that it was 200K. I don't think Bolden made more. I don't.
Maybe
I
equal,
could be
maybe
wrong.
50.
What?
I said maybe equal to that, or maybe 150 or something.
Probably. Yeah.
All right,
And I think that Bond probably made 500.
I would believe that. Those are good numbers. I mean, those are interesting numbers when I think about this freshman class. One more note on NIL. This one came from the Huskies, UW Washington. This column, this is a deep one, a lot of numbers. So I'm not going to go through all the numbers. I'm just going to give you the ending sentence cliff note here. Basically, the title was that they're facing a budget shortfall, and they have challenges ahead. And remember, a year ago, Kalen DeBoer just came off of a national championship appearance at Washington with Penix and all these receivers and all these draft picks. A year later, this is the last sentence. Washington's financial situation remains difficult. They proposed operational budget from June required two $10 million loans from both the Big Ten and Fox Sports, borrowed with no interest against Washington's future earnings. It's still projected UW staffers a net loss of suffers a net loss of $2 million, and the Huskies aren't guaranteed a full share of its next Big Ten media contract.
Well, they can't be, but I mean, who cares? They're getting to leverage a zero interest deal from the contract. A
But the
10
fact,
million is zero interest from Fox. Gosh, man, I need friends like the Fox. I need friends like Fox and Big Ten.
well, the thing is, those I mean, they were going to get paid that money anyway. It's just like, hey, it's kind of like an advance. but
Yeah.
they're partners and they're kind of signed to like, long-term deals. So it's kind of just like it'd be like me asking you like, hey, can I get my paycheck? Like, can I get the next 2 paychecks like today?
Yeah. I say call Byron. You know I don't know how to run payroll.
Well, no, but would you if like we're probably more friendly than Washington is with the Big Ten, but like we have a long-standing relationship and they have a long-standing relationship with them with a contract. Like you would think you'd probably not be like, yeah, man, I'm going to give you a 10% interest on that though.
In retrospect, we talked about how, man, I'm not sure that that's the best idea for Kalen DeBoer to go in and try and follow Nick Saban. It's a really tough deal. It's like it's such a slim margin for error. You go there, and you're not legendary right from the bat, right off the bat, coming from Washington to Alabama. You're, you might say like that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. Going in, it's like what does everybody always say? Don't go follow a legend,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but maybe he knew a little bit about this. Saw
He
a
saw
little
that
bit of
buzz.
writing on the wall, man. That's why he was like, dude, yes, dude. Bama, are you kidding me? Dude, show me the plane ticket. Yeah, dude. Packing all my bags and I'm heading south. All right. Speaking of packing your bags and heading somewhere, were you gonna say you had additional thoughts about Dion's spring game shenanigans? Did he say something else about it?
So he didn't, but remember, so I'm just going to revise it for the crowd listening, is that Dion brought up a couple days ago in his press conference that he would like to have a team like go to Boulder and practice against them and then potentially have a spring game against them. And I was listening to Josh Pate tonight, Josh Pate's college football show. He says spring in quote games will be the future. He says that Colorado and North Carolina are already talking.
Woo!
He said
Oh gosh.
and when he leaks something, I kind of listen because he knows. I mean, he literally was talking to Kirby Smart yesterday. He talks to all these coaches all the time and a lot of people all the time. So I'll take his word. TV contracts will be discussed and something will come of it. My question to you is, do you buy it? Part of what he said was literally, Alex, exactly what we talked about, which is if it does happen, it'll be a home and home. So one year you'll come to Chapel Hill, and the next year they'll go to Boulder, and it'll be like that. It'll be these spring games that can be televised and where the like ESPN and Fox and Big Ten, all this crap, they can make their money off of a couple of weeks of open period with nothing on TV to live stream.
Sark ain't doing it.
I mean, Sark, I don't think Sark needs to, right? North Carolina and Colorado kind of makes sense because they're not that upper echelon. Like, what if this is, I talk about that Super League.
Dude, I
Super
would
League
love
teams
this. It just you give me football in the spring to watch. I'm like a man walking through the desert, just trying to grab a piece of cactus and like squeeze the water from it into my mouth or whatever. You're giving me a cool pitcher of water. You know what I mean? Like I would schedule my weekend. I would schedule my weekend around watching some spring game where it's just Boise versus Utah or something.
Well, I mean, we got UNL, we got the UFL.
Well, I've seen you trying to get me signed up for that Cockamamie Fantasy League. We'll see how that.
6-man UFL league, baby. The leader in the clubhouse right now to win the UFL 10-week season. The Matt Corral led. Amari Rogers receiving, Deion Kane receiving, Gary Jennings receiving.
That's not a bad receiving core.
Birmingham Stallions.
Who do the Battlehawks have?
Which one is that? That's
St. Louis.
St. Louis. I think they have Hakeem Butler still, Wayne Gallman.
Oh. These aren't terrible rosters.
Jeff Thomas. 4-3 Jeff Thomas. Quarterback Brandon Silvers still.
No, Silvers is always dude. Who's the best quarterback in the UFO?
Anthony McFarland's on San Antonio. The best quarterback, I think it's I was just looking at it earlier. It's probably going to be Corral or Jordan Teamu.
Well, Teamu is just the spring league goat.
Yeah, I think the guy that won the MVP last year. Oh, I just had that sheet up. I think I shared it with you earlier. The guy that won the MVP was Adrian Martinez, but I think he's like on the Packers roster right now.
Yeah, I was going to say the guy that won the UFL MVP. He made an NFL team.
Yeah, so he's not going to be in there this year, but it looks like it's going to be probably Corral or Tiamu who are the two top quarterbacks. Puka Williams from Kansas, man, weighed in 160 pounds. Hell yeah, man. A lot of interesting cats.
Puka's in that thing. Oh, all right. I'll play a fantasy league with this stuff, man. Can't believe there's a place to even play that.
Yeah, I dug for like an hour trying to find it.
Where is it? What is the site?
It is. I think it's like ALT Sports or something like this.
Okay. Well, do we have to pay money? I'm sure.
No, I hope not.
Okay. All right. Well, UFL. Football with friends. Hopefully, we won't have too much UFL talk around here. But dude, I mean,
it's gonna be primetime football on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, man. We gotta talk about it.
It could be good for prize picks.
Exactly. 10 weeks of Friday, Saturday, Sunday night football. That's all the prize picks. I mean, come on, it's gonna carry us.
We have if we have North Carolina, if we have Chapel Bill versus Deion Sanders, dude, I'll just that'll be a dream come true. Is it just schools are going to get to choose? I guess schools can choose what they can do, what they want to do. It's like what Sark is saying is, all right, we're going the NFL route. We're going OTAs. We're going to do more individual periods, more team periods in the spring. We're not going to have a cockamamie spring game. We're not going to do this stuff. We're going to dial down our scrimmages. These guys played an 18-week season, whatever, 16-week season, whatever it was. And we're not going to do this. I've said before that I thought that if you continue doing this, if you had spring games and spring periods like they've been traditionally, I thought the guys might hold out a spring, just hold out, be healthy holdouts. What Deion's saying is he's like, I don't think that's true. I think I'm going the NFL. I want to go the NFL route too. But guess what? We're gonna have our regular practices and stuff like that. But by the end of camp, whenever they're tired of hitting each other, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in other teams and we're gonna see how we stack up against these other teams. And we're gonna hit somebody else. And after 3 joint practices, say they come in on
Monday.
They come in 1 week. They come in the weekend before or something like that, and they probably have hotel or whatever the team hotel is that guests stay at whenever they're at that school playing a game. And I guess they would just get I guess the practices would have to probably have to be in the stadium because you would need use of the guest locker rooms.
You'd probably have multiple, right? You'd probably have most stadiums are closely, most are not bus rides apart from stadium and practice facility.
I guess I'm just so used to thinking of Texas. It's like like the new Texas Tech facility. It's like it's right next to it. So, all right. So logistically, that doesn't really matter. But what it would be is I would imagine a week of practice. So 2 practices: Tuesday practice, Thursday practice, Saturday spring game. Hard practices, get good film. That's different.
Maybe do a solo practice in there too.
Yeah, maybe all right. So maybe, like a Friday walkthrough,
something like that. Yeah, where it's just your team.
Yeah, and then spring game on Saturday, and the fans are all happy, but it doesn't it's just so funny to me. Sark wants to do the NFL thing, but the NFL thing for him is like it's much less taxing on players, stuff like that. Deion's like let's do the NFL thing and let's go big and let's get everybody super hype and like let's go to war at practice.
Would you rather do a joint practice, joint scrimmage? I'm going to call this that. Would you rather have to do a joint spring scrimmage or a joint fall scrimmage? So it either takes place the last week of April or it takes place the first week of August.
Last week of April.
Okay.
Give me, as a fan of college football,
You don't.
Yeah,
But why? The reason I
give me
asked that
something
is
to get me by, dude. By August, I'm like, dude, I've bided my time for this long. Football's about to start. I got preseason football action here. I'm doing a bunch of fantasy drafts. I'm like, by then, I'm just like, we're knee
yeah.
deep in it, dude. We're doing mock draft simulations all day long. I might not even pay that much attention to it, right?
But from a team perspective, I guess the reason I bring it up is because I'm saying like, you get a team that gets to go in there and like, a team that gets upset, like a Florida State that gets upset in week 1 against Georgia Tech and their season goes down the drain. It's like if Florida State would have had the first week of August, they go to like, Stillwater and they spend a week in Oklahoma State and they iron some things out. Maybe they don't get punched in the mouth in week 1. And maybe the season, I know that team wasn't quite at the par, but that was kind of my thought there is like maybe some teams don't get punched in the mouth quite as hard week 1 and it's not such an uphill battle after that. That's kind of where my brain went there. But for your example, I'll take the contest any day in April.
Yeah, dude. Especially if there's multiple. Like, especially if there's multiple. Right? You're saying that Pate was saying on the show. I haven't listened to that part of the show, but he was saying like they're going to do this. Like teams are going to do it.
He said something's going to happen. They're talking about it.
Just those two, just North Carolina and Colorado, or other teams going to? Other teams should.
He said these two are talking.
All right. Well, knock on.
Holy cow. Houston, this is way off topic, but the Texans, I'm only bring it up because it's a Texas show, but the Houston Texans just gave Danielle Hunter a 1-year extension. $36 million.
Whew. That's a lot.
Holy cow.
Do you think Danielle Hunter is still worth that much?
I'm a little biased into it because I was a Viking fan when he was drafted and I loved him. I loved him as a prospect. So,
Yeah, but I'm trying to think when he was drafted.
I bought his 99 jersey before he ever played a down of football in Minnesota. Was it 2017 or 2018? I want to say.
Oh, really? I thought
round.
for some reason I thought he was more like 2014 or okay. Gosh, man.
He's been hurt a lot though.
So he was the same year as Leonard Fournette?
Yes. I think it was 2017.
Are you sure?
You're right. 2015.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like he started like it's a lot of money to give a guy in his 11th season. But I mean, he's been good.
This is the Myles Garrett thing though. Myles Garrett just reset it getting $40 million a year.
I don't understand. I don't really understand what the Texans are really doing.
Boy, that offensive line is a mess.
How do you get rid of Laramie Tunsil and their other first rounder they got, Kenyon Green?
Well, Kenyon Green. The theory was, and what I've heard, I've listened to Houston radio quite a bit, but the theory was that they wanted to reset the offensive line room from a leadership standpoint, from a vocal standpoint, and Laramie and Kenyon were kind of the bigger voices in that room, and it wasn't the direction the team wanted to be going. Was kind of what I heard and was kind of put
because
out.
The offensive line stunk, and if they're the leaders, you don't want them.
Well, and maybe more from a play perspective, some off field as well. Point taken, but they replace it with guys that Ed Ingram stunk, and Cam Robinson he replaced Christian Darrisaw this last year. He was fine. Laken Tomlinson stunk. Like they just brought in guys that maybe they think they can fix them, but man, they were not good players last year at all. So
I don't understand what they're doing, dude. Speaking of offensive line, what do you think about Anwar's report today about how Nick Brooks, the freshman, I guess backup left tackle,
Big Nick,
his sources saying he's looking like they got to see him in pads, but he's looking like the most impressive Texas freshman. He has to mean among the offensive line, right?
No.
So you think that his sources are saying that Nick Brooks looks more impressive than Justice Terry, Cade Phillips, Lance Jackson, Jamie French,
fully
McCutcheon.
I mean, this isn't a 3-star prospect.
Khalil Lockett, either the running backs, Lacey, Michael Terry.
I'm not gonna say he's like the GOAT or anything, but he wasn't a 3-star prospect. He did have interest from Georgia. Initially, he's from Georgia, right? So, like,
It was down to Texas and Georgia, right?
I mean, he's a big dude that we talked about on this show multiple times that showed he was overweight, showed he needed to lose some weight, showed he needed to improve his footwork and foot speed. And a quick way of improving that speed and showing some more nimbleness is straight up just cutting weight. And if he's dropped 30, 40 pounds and the training's been going well, I can't wait to hear what he looks like at practice. Is it without, was it shock? Yes. But is it something that you could tell yourself a story about? 100%, I could believe it. Like if you were like, Nick Brooks is the most impressive freshman. All right, I get it. Like it's a position that also we haven't seen. I mean, these guys aren't playing against each other every day. It's just from a lifting perspective, right? And running perspective and getting in shape. Like he's also a behemoth. So I get it 100%.
Giant. So giant warehouse, sort of like Specs is. It's like it's just filled up with cheap liquor, cheaper than anywhere else that you can find it, man. Thanks so much to Specs, man. Almost 600 of you guys watching. It's all thanks to the Specs chat line. Let's hear from them just real quick.
At Specs, it doesn't cost a lot to turn a good time into a great time, especially if you like saving money. From connoisseur collectors to aficionados of ale, you'll find bubbly bliss at any budget with a Texas-sized selection of world-class wines, rare spirits, craft beers, and more. So when you're getting ready for a good time, Specs is ready to make it great. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Shout Specs, low priced, amazing. Here's to you, shout. Cheers to saving.
Yes, welcome back. Thanks again to our friends at Specs. Thanks to our great friends at Poncho Outdoors, of course, Texas Beef Traders. Also want to mention we have some other great friends over at Texas Card House and TCH Social, where Ketchum will be there tomorrow. Who will Chad? Is Chad going to be there tomorrow? I think
Chad's
Jason's
going to be there.
go.
I think Anwar's going to try and go. I think this was kind of built after because I don't think Anwar's ever been, so I think he's going to be there.
So the thing about TCH Social and Texas Card House, I've not been there yet, and I might be just talking completely out of my rear here, but I think it's right. I think it's right there off Anderson Mill and 183.
It's right off the highway. Yeah, I've been there once.
Yeah, it's off that big highway in North Austin, Cody, big intersection there. Yeah, so I've been to this Texas Card House location before. I've never been though since they turned it into a sports bar. You guys don't have to think about this like it's a. If you don't even know cards if you don't know cards from a hole in the wall, like it does not matter. This is about just watching basketball. They have the largest screen in all of North Austin. They're going to have the games on all the TVs. They're going to have food specials, drink specials. I haven't had the food. I've heard the food's delicious. Cody, you've been there. Is the food good?
Bad beat bacon.
Yeah, like I've heard so much about that bacon.
Shepherd's pie. That's another one that was good. My buddy had that when we went.
Shepherd's pie. Who gets
kind of
that
an off the wall one?
I get it. Golly, what a strange friend you got there.
Well, I mean, he's an Army Ranger, so he's kind of he's eating MREs his whole life.
I was gonna say he's used to those MREs.
He's like shepherd pie. I was like, why'd you get that? And he's like, good. I was like, all right,
dude. Just speaking about basketball with friends, real quick. So do you have Texas? Do you think Texas is gonna win tonight?
I think so. I mean, I think when you got a player like Trey Johnson, and he's known as one of the better players, I think you just
bad analysis here.
But real though. Like what do we know about March, Alex? And we don't know a lot, but I was, I'll be honest with you. When I was in college and high school, I used to fill out 60, 70 brackets, paper brackets, and hang them on my wall and mark them off. I was maniacal.
Were you playing for money on every one, or were you just kind of?
No. I would do like the money ones. I would do a couple money ones, but then I would just try to do I would like I said, I would do 60 to 70 paper brackets, fill them out in pen, and try to get a perfect bracket. Who didn't, right? And I did that.
Well, I didn't.
Through. Okay, but I did that like through. You guys didn't have printers when you were in high school, but when when I was in high school and college, that's what I did. just for the hell of it to burn time to watch it because I love Thursday, Friday of tournament week because it's game after game after game after game, upset after upset after upset. But the thing is it's always a player. It's always a player. It's always a player that carries BYU. It's always a player that carries Holy Cross or George Mason, and Trey Johnson's a player. And so I think Trey Johnson, gets them past Xavier tonight, gets them past Illinois on whatever Friday, and then gets them past. I got them past Troy in the next round.
You have them going to the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I got Troy beating Kentucky, and then Texas beating Troy in the second round.
No, you're throwing away your money with this bracket. You got is
Troy
good?
They got a guy.
Okay. Well, see, my thought when I was filling out this bracket was a couple things. Okay, I've just heard and I've heard all the one seeds are like super good this year. It's not like last year where there weren't any good one seeds. So I have all the one seeds advanced. I think I have all one seeds in the Final Four. And then
I'm close.
And then the other thing was I naturally just think in my mind with the transfer portal with the way it is right now. And again, I don't know anything about basketball, so don't take this advice. But just how I put together my bracket. I think that the best players from all these mid-major schools and stuff I'm not sure that there's like some kind of Steph Curry at some Davidson or something like that right now. Is there? Don't they get recruited out to go to the Floridas and the Dukes and stuff of the world now with NIL and transfer portal? That's just, I don't know if they do. Don't listen to my advice. To me, it would seem like they would these days. And so I don't have any of these puny schools making a run, dude. I just have the big schools that are good at basketball winning.
So you don't know nothing about John Pulakidis from Yale? You don't got Yale beating Texas A&M and Yale beating Michigan?
I do not. And the minute we start talking about one of Byron's Greek Orthodox cousins in basketball,
well, who's your Final Four?
It's all the one seeds.
I got 3 1 seeds, and then I got Bama as the other one that did not.
I got all the 1 seeds. I heard Bama's got one of their main guys that's a little bit hurt, so I didn't pick them.
All right. Well, who's your championship? I got Bama over Florida.
I got Duke over Florida. Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find Cody on X at Cody Carpentier. I'm at Alex Dunlap, NFL. We used to ask you guys every night for 4 things, man. If you guys please could like the show, subscribe to the channel. If you do like the show, tell a friend about it. Let them know we're here every day talking Texas football, SEC, NFL draft, NFL, hopefully not too much basketball, maybe some UFL moving forward, but only if we're going to make you some money in prize picks. All right. Enjoy some basketball tonight. Make sure and find all of our stuff over at Orange Bloods. Columns going up there. I just got my credentials accepted for the Elite 11 this weekend, so I'll be covering that on Saturday. I'll have some write-ups from that and what I think about those players from the Elite 11, and we'll probably talk some about that on Monday. It'll be good. It'll be good content. So check that out over at Orange Bloods. And most importantly, man, if you guys like the show, just come back. We're here every night, 6 to 7 p.m. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Have a good time watching basketball tonight, all right? All right. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.